Y'all, come on. It's time to make the donuts.
Time to make the donuts.
Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the random web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling another crowd favorite, donuts. Stay tuned. All right, guys, it's donut time. Donuts, donuts, donuts. This is a popular request. And I've got to be honest with you, I am a little bit biased here because I have a very specific type of donut that I kind of like. And according to the comments, I reached out and put a poll out there and said, give me your favorite donut recipes. And time again, the #1 request was for a glazed donut a la Krispy Kreme. I grew up on Krispy Kreme donuts, and for most of my life was nowhere near a Krispy Kreme store. If you are near one now, you know that red light comes on and you just about will have a wreck trying to get into the parking lot, because hot donuts now, that means they're coming out of the fryer, buddy, and you can there was a line around the block, like wrapping around the block when they opened one recently here. So today we're testing two versions of glazed donuts. These are the two of the most requested donut recipes. The first of them is Glazed Donuts by Caroline'sKetoKitchen.com. And the second recipe is Cinnamon Donuts with Browned Butter Glaze. And this is by AllDayIDreamAboutFood.com. Now, we've tested her recipes before. Fantastic. I'm super excited about both of these, particularly the first one we're going to do, Glazed Donuts. This is a smaller blogger, I think. I've never run across any of her recipes, but she said if you miss Krispy Kreme, you are in luck. These are the real deal, light, fluffy, delicious in taste. I was trying to steer away from the heavy, cakey, low-carb donut, and it worked. So I'm super stoked about that. So honestly, instead of talking, let's get started. All right, so here we go. Our first recipe, Glazed Donuts by Caroline'sKetoKitchen.com. And if you've been on this channel, let me just say again out front, if you've been on this channel any length of time, you know I don't give exact measurements. These aren't my recipes. We're testing these recipes. The people that did the hard work to create these recipes, they deserve the traffic. So I'm asking you to go to the link down below or in the video description below and visit them, and they deserve the traffic for this. So if I don't give exact measurements, that's why. You probably know that by now. If you're new, welcome. I bought some donut pans. Now, you know I've done a bagel battle. If you haven't seen my bagel battle, I think it's up here. Click up there. I used the silicone molds, and those were large. Those were large silicone bagel molds. And the donut molds are a little bit smaller, and I think most people are probably going to use a metal pan like this. So I bought a couple of these just to test them. I think this is a more appropriate serving size for a donut. The bagel mold is just massive. So we're going to be using these. These are Nordic ware, just nonstick donut molds. So to begin this, we're going to start with all of our dry ingredients. Let me get a sifter because hold on, I didn't even get ready. It's not a highfalutin cooking video if you don't have a sifter. Honestly, you got to. Sift, kids. So our ingredients are, all of our dry ingredients. This is almond flour. Again, if you want to know exactly how much, check out the link down below. You've got coconut flour. A little bit of everything in here. And this is, she calls for egg white protein powder. Now, I don't have egg white protein powder, and I guess this is whey protein powder. And somebody in the comments did ask her, can I use whey protein powder? And she was like, yeah, go for it. So this is approved by Caroline, I believe. So whey protein powder, unflavored, and swerve sweetener. She specifically asked for granulated swerve, so that's what we're doing. And lastly is the baking powder and the salt, right? So in all this goes, and let's just sift. Get all those lumps and bumps out. That swerve and the baking powder is so powdery. Look at it. Makes a cloud. But that's why, what are you going to do with all that? You got to get that out of there. That will ruin your recipe. So, and I've mentioned this several times, I keep all of my flours, my nut flours, coconut flour, almond flour, because they have fat content and regular wheat flour doesn't, they can go rancid pretty quickly if you keep them in the fridge, keep them in the pantry. So unless you do a lot of frequent low carb baking, put them in your freezer. put them in your freezer. They'll last a whole lot longer, stay a whole lot fresher. But the problem is all that fat does solidify and becomes thick and hard to work with. Okay, so we have got all of our dry ingredients in here, and we're just going to add the wet ingredients to this. Now, she includes in her dry ingredients a couple of ounces of softened cream cheese. I forgot to soften this before I started filming, so I've just put this in the microwave for 20 seconds just to get it a little bit softer. And she says to mix this in with the dry ingredients first, so I would have called cream cheese a wet ingredient, but Caroline knows. The pictures of these donuts look real good. So, all right, to this we are going to add our wet ingredients, and that is, I've already taken the liberty of separating these. We had to beat egg whites into stiff peaks, and I've already done that just to cut down on time here, trying to keep these a little more concise and condensed. But this is the 2 egg yolks that need to be added. She calls for unsweetened cashew milk, and so that's what I have here. Again, if you want to know exactly how much, check the link. Now we just whisk this and combine it. We're just making a batter, right? All right, once you've got this done, we're obviously going to fold in gently our egg whites. You need your egg whites at stiff peaks, and these are pretty stiff. And obviously, we're going to just gently fold these into our batter. You don't want to lose any of that lift, so just be gentle here. This is where we're getting a lot of our lift, I would imagine. There is baking powder in here, but whipped egg whites obviously are perfect for this. Oops, I forgot to add my vanilla. We needed a teaspoon of vanilla, so I'm gonna add that here at the end. Whoops. Okay, we've got a beautiful white fluffy batter, and now we're just going to fill our, I've already preheated the oven to 350, and these are gonna bake for about 12 to 15 minutes or until lightly browned. And then you let them cool in the pan for 5 minutes and then flip them out onto a paper towel. And then we're gonna talk about the glaze. So let me get both of my pans ready. And she said to spray them with a little bit of coconut spray. I've actually got avocado oil spray, so hit this once or twice. You don't want them to stick. Good Lord, you've done all this work and spent all this money for ingredients. You do not want them to stick. So fill each pan, she says, 2/3 full, each little. This might have been easier in a, I'm gonna do it with a spoon. This might have been easier in a bag. You probably could have put it in a piping bag, but she did not call for that. Some of the other recipes did, but we, like you know, we follow the directions exactly as written. I'm gonna do it with a spoon. It'll be easier, I think. So you fill them 2/3 full. All right, I'm going to clean these up just a little bit, and then, as I said, these go in the oven for, I think she said 12 to 15 minutes at 350, and then I will come back and show you what these look like after they're out of the oven. And then we're going to work on the glaze. So in they go. I'll meet you back here in just a few minutes.
Time to make the donuts.
All right, guys, so these have been in for about 17 minutes. It took the entire time to get them, what she said, lightly browned. Now, these need to cool for 5 minutes. Before we take them out of there, and that's exactly the amount of time it requires to make the glaze. So let's make the glaze. I'm intrigued by these. They do have, I can smell the eggs. I can smell the eggs. You know, I'm going to be honest about that. But I'm hopeful. She says in a frying pan to melt butter, which we're doing now, and then literally glaze, which it's sugar, swerve, and cream and butter and some vanilla. If you've been to a Krispy Kreme and you've seen that little conveyor belt those boogers go under and then just drizzle all that glaze, the glaze on a Krispy Kreme is super duper thin. If you've eaten one, you know when you bite into it and you'll have it all over your clothes. But that little bit of light glaze on that soft fluffy donut is what it makes it magical to a lot of us. So that's what we're going to try to achieve here. She does say in her instructions that if you want a thicker glaze, you need to let this glaze sit for 45 minutes before you apply it. If you like a really sweet donut and you like a thin glaze, she said just go ahead once it's warm and dip the donuts in. You can dip them twice if you like them super sweet, and if you don't like them very sweet, just spoon the glaze over the top of the donuts. So that's what we're going to do. I'm using, she calls for swerve. I'm using confectioner's swerve. We used granulated in the baked goods. But just from experience, she doesn't say it has to be confectioner's, but from experience, I know that confectioner's just, you don't get that gritty texture that you sometimes get with the granulated swerve. Now, look at that, that's beautiful. You add your swerve in. Now, if you don't want to spend money and get granulated and regular swerve, that's totally fine. Just use the granulated, throw it in a blender or your food processor or your coffee grinder or whatever you're going to use, and you can easily make confectioner's version of swerve, right? But as I've said many times on this channel, sometimes convenience wins out. When you're cooking low carb or keto, you often have to, you know, recreate a lot of convenience foods, and for a recipe that turns into making like 4 or 5 different things. So if I can avoid bringing out an appliance, I do. So I spend the $6.99 on a bag of confectioner's swerve and the $6.99 on the bag of the regular swerve. I do. So once this is melted, we're going to add in, that's beautiful, a teaspoon of vanilla. I think it's a teaspoon. I better look. Hold on. I'm telling you I'm not going to give you ingredients. Yeah, I was right. And I've had many people tell me that you're using a tablespoon instead of a teaspoon. No, ma'am. That is a teaspoon measure. I don't know if it's going to focus on that, but I think it's just the distance from the camera makes it look bigger than it is. I promise you, I know what a teaspoon and a tablespoon is. And now we're going to add in heavy cream. And we're just going to keep this moving over about medium heat for 5 minutes, she said, which coincides with the 5 minutes that our donuts need to cool before we dump them out and start dipping them. So that's what we're going to do. I'll meet you back here in 5 minutes. Okay, so this is cooked for about 5 minutes, and our glaze, it smells so good, y'all. I'm just honest with you. That smells so good. It smells like sugar. It does. Gotta love swerve. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to take these out of the pan, and I'm going to get ready to put this glaze on, and these things are so wonderful. Look, I mean, I've mentioned them before. They're the Reynolds cookie baking sheets. They're already... Have you ever taken parchment paper off of a roll and it just rolls up and you can never get it to lay flat? This is the solution to that. It is worth the $2 that thing costs to not have to deal with that. So this is going to catch my glaze. I'll move this out of the way, and are those hot? No, they're fine. So she says turn these out on a paper towel. So that's what we're going to do. Da, 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 da. Those are cute. They're not quite a donut. Some of them don't have a hole. They rose over their hole. All right, so here's where the fun part is. She said to, if you want a thin glaze, go ahead and do this. If you want a thick glaze, wait 45 minutes. Krispy Kreme donuts don't have a thick glaze. They have a thin glaze. So that's what we're going to do. And I don't know really how to do this. I thought maybe chopsticks. I could pick them up. I don't know. Put them in. Flip them over. Maybe just an old fork would do. I might be making this way harder than it needs to be. But I figured I could do that right there. Wow! And put you something down so that you don't have a mess on your cutting board or your surface here. And that glaze is pretty thick already, I gotta be honest. Ooh. These are beautiful. If we like if we like super sweet donuts, she said to dip them twice. So, I don't know. Let's see. These are beautiful. Oh my heavens. All right, so I'm going to leave a link down below in the description for the for the donut pans, those Nordic Ware donut pans, and for the cookie sheets and all that stuff. They're Amazon affiliate links. Yeah, I'll make a couple of pennies if you'll click on those. I'll make a couple of pennies, but you know, all that adds up over time and it helps keep this test kitchen going. So I'd appreciate it if you'd click the links down below. Holy macaroni, these look beautiful. I've actually got 4 more of these on the stove in the back, just waiting. So I'm gonna go grab those as well and dunk those. All right, so these are gonna drip for a while, but look at them. They're so pretty. So I'm gonna put these on I'm not gonna taste them yet. I'm gonna put these on the back burner, and we're moving on. The glaze has to dry, right, and set up. So it's gonna be a while before we can taste these. So on to recipe number 2. I'll meet you back here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I made the donuts.
We're back. All right, time for the second recipe, and this one is by All Day I Dream About Food. Again, we've tried her recipes before, and they're always fantastic. These are cinnamon donuts with browned butter glaze. This was probably requested more when I asked for recipes. This was really requested, and people say it's fantastic. This is sort of like, I guess you could say, a gourmet version of Krispy Kreme glazed donuts, right? So you've got the glaze, but it's with browned butter and with cinnamon. And brown butter is just what it sounds like. It's butter that's been browned. We're going to find out in just a minute. All right, so this is pretty easy as well. This requires dry ingredients, mixing our wet, and going right into the oven. It's 325 for this one, a little bit cooler. So we start with almond flour, and quite a bit of it, right? This is a fair amount of almond flour, and sift. Into that goes Swerve sweetener. And she says vanilla whey protein powder. I only keep unflavored whey protein powder on hand. I think it's the most versatile. You can use it for like fake cornbread. You can use it for bread. You can use it for desserts. And if you need vanilla, well, that's what vanilla extract is for. So just for that caveat, just know that I'm using regular vanilla extract. And we're going to add cinnamon. And I sift all of this. And some baking powder and salt. Again, these aren't my recipes. We're just testing them. So if you want to know exactly how much, right there. Go check down there. So let's get this through this sieve. Combine that good. We need 2 eggs, lightly beaten. And let me just tell you, you know, if you saw my bread battle, it's up there in the corner. If you saw my bread battle, you know one of my pet peeves about low carb or keto baked goods is oftentimes the egg flavor. We need that egg to make lift, right? So a lot of times they're super eggy. And, you know, I do like everybody. I try to get, you know, high quality eggs, you know, omega-3, what do you call them? Really, Wesley? Cage-free. I couldn't think of the word cage-free. You know, the expensive eggs. And if you have a friend and you can get yard eggs or you know, real farm eggs, by all means, please do. But have you ever noticed if you buy the expensive eggs, the yolks are really dark? And if you buy the cheap, like 88-cent store brand eggs, the yolks are really pale. There's a lot of nutrient in that. And have you ever tasted them? You're like, wow, this is such a better egg than the regular grocery store cheapo eggs. However, if you find baked goods that taste like eggs to be off-putting, get the 88-cent eggs because they have less egg flavor. No, they're not as nutritious as the more expensive eggs that I like to use myself. But if you have an aversion to eggy tasting bread products in low-carb cooking, cheap eggs don't have a lot of egg flavor. And that's terrible for scrambled eggs, but pretty good for low-carb baked goods. All right, so there's your tip. And to this, we're also going to add some almond milk. And I ain't going to lie, there was only a 1/4 cup of this required. You better believe I used the cashew milk that I bought for the last recipe. So they're pretty interchangeable. It's just a liquid that needs to be thinner than heavy cream. And also, we are going to add melted butter. I'm a stickler for getting everything out. If you don't use a rubber spatula, you're going to leave half of your ingredients in these bowls. And when you're testing recipes, it's unfair to the recipe developer if you don't use all the ingredients. All right, get this going. Also, we're going to add 10 drops of liquid stevia. I use the Sweet Drops by Sweet Leaf. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And pea pie, tiny bit of vanilla. And that's it, really. Get out of here. Mix this well. That's thick batter. Whoa, way thicker than our last batter. And we didn't have to be as delicate with it, right? Because we don't have those whipped up egg whites that created the lift in the last recipe. So I'm curious if these are going to be heavy and thick and cakey. I mean, I'm an equal opportunity donut lover. If somebody brought in, back in the day, when I was eating regular donuts, if somebody brought in Dunkin' Donuts, and I wouldn't poo-poo that. Heck no. I'd have been all up in it with cream cheese on my face. Let me check the instructions. Yeah, we're going to bake these for 15 to 18 minutes. These are going right in these Nordic ware. This looks like less dough. She also says to fill them 2/3 full. Now, y'all, I got to just say, these are what I just baked out of, right? And I didn't even have to, I literally just rinsed them in the sink. These are fantastic pans. Carefully try to fill these up. That is some thick dough. Really? I'm going to have to use a spoon again. Hold on. See, this is where I honestly think that if I put this dough in a Ziploc bag and squirted it out, it would be a little easier to do. In fact, she didn't say to do this, but hold on. And watch this be so much easier. Bleep. Oh yeah. You don't want to get, this is a much thicker dough than that last dough. Maybe this isn't the way to do it, but we're going to find out. If it turns out bad, all day I dream about food, I'm sorry, sugar booger. I just couldn't make that participate the way I needed it to. We're going to have a test. This is what, this was the one that I did with the spoon. We need another one of these because I'm going to cook all this. All right, so in these go. I'm going to throw these in the oven. And let me just give you a tip. You see how I've got like spray of that oil spray that's spattered around? Don't put your pan in the oven with that on there, particularly like this. I have one pan that like has, just needs 2 of these. Do not leave oil. I sprayed oil in there. If you have butter or oil, don't put it in the oven with butter or oil in the well without batter in it, because that oil is going to dry up in the oven, and you ever get that weird sticky oil feeling on like a cast iron skillet does it? You don't want that, so just make sure you wipe them out. All right, these are going in the oven for how long did she say? 15 to 18 minutes. And then we're going to make our brown butter glaze. So I'll meet you back here in just a minute. All right, guys, these have been in, this took almost 20 minutes, and they're not super brown, but I feel like they are on the bottom. They look beautiful. They smell very almondy, so we're gonna, and the cinnamon is super strong, which is delicious. So these have to sit in the pan for 5 minutes. Ooh, that's hot. Don't touch that. Good night. I have to do this because I have burnt myself several times. Don't touch that. So now is the brown butter glaze, and brown butter is exactly what it sounds like it is. It's butter that you put in a pan and browned. Takes about 4 minutes. So while those are cooling for 5 minutes, we're going to work on this. And you just keep this butter moving. And this needs to brown for 4 minutes until it gets brown. And then we're going to throw it in some confectioner's swerve with a little bit of cream, heavy cream, and a little bit of vanilla. And it's going to be thick. It's not a glaze. Based on the photos and the instructions, it's not a super thin glaze. It's going to be something that we probably have to maybe use a spatula and apply, like it looked more like an icing, but it sure looked good. So all right, let's just brown this butter. If you read her recipe, she got a little rambunctious and tried to mix the swerve in with this pan, and it got too hot on her. So she said you definitely need to do this in a separate bowl. And slowly whisk this into your powdered swerve. Or erythritol, or whatever it is you use. Now this is going to be thick. She says it's going to be thick. Let's get it all out. To this we add a little bit of vanilla. And then you're going to add, cream, heavy cream, she says, just I'll tell you this, a tablespoon or two. And you're going to do it 1 tablespoon at a time because you're going to judge this by the consistency that it is, right? Okay. Let's see what we got. Looks beautiful. Turn these out. Is that hot? Not bad. Ta 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 ta! My gosh, those are beautiful. All right, let me get my other ones. I should have glazed my other donuts with this bottom up like this. They present so much more like a donut because obviously the tops are flat, right? So, but when you do that, they look like donuts. And let's glaze these top side up, just like this. And you can be as generous or as shy with the glaze as you want to. And I'm gonna be honest, y'all know her food is beautiful. These donuts look, the photos of her donuts look delicious, but they look messy. So I ain't gonna feel bad about these looking messy because, I mean, she's like a pro. And if hers look messy, well, it's okay if mine do. As hideous as that looks, there wasn't much of that brown butter. It wasn't about 3 tablespoons of butter in there. Ooh, Lord, don't let me lose all of it and get on here now. Get up. We're going to let these cool. Y'all, I made a mess. Okay. Let's let these cool. I'll meet you back here. We're going to line everything up. We're going to taste them. And we'll go from there.
Time to make the donuts. I made the donuts.
All right, guys, so we are back, and now it's time to test our glazed donuts. And here they are right here before us. These are Caroline's Keto Kitchen.com. Go check her recipe. These are glazed donuts. This recipe made 10 donuts. I used the same pans for both of them, and my pan size must have matched both of their recipes. This made 10 donuts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now wait a holy cow. There were 10 of those on here just a minute ago. If you make 10 of these, one of them, one donut, is 163 calories, 15 grams of fat. You've got protein is 5 grams. Carbs, you got 3 grams total carbs. You got 1 gram of fiber. So those are 2 grams of net carbs each for one of these donuts if you make 10 out of the recipe. These are the cinnamon donuts with browned butter glaze by alldayidreamaboutfood.com. Be sure to check out both of their recipes below. If you make 8 of these, one donut is 287 calories, 24.9 grams of fat. You've got 6.8 grams of total carbs. You've got 3.2 grams of fiber, which gives you 3.6 net carbs per donut. And protein, you've got 9 grams. So about 2 net carbs, roughly about 4 net carbs, 3.6, whatever. But I want you to look at the difference in size. So even though, can you see how much bigger? Just let me hide my big old fat head. Look here. Don't pick me up. Yeah. See, now focus on them donuts. They're just a difference in size. Now, I want to tell you right now, I should have looked at this a little bit more. That looks like English muffin or something weird. Turn them over, kiddos. Turn them over, and they look like donuts now. I'm stupid. I should have done that because if you turn these over, hey, they're flat on top too. But they should have been turned over, and they look more donut-esque. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to taste them both. This is the first one we try. I got to get a napkin. Hold on. I'm going to tell you now that these have been cooling for probably 40 minutes now, these. And they are not, the glaze is still wet, right? It's still, they don't feel like a dried glaze yet. But it's getting there. So, I mean, it's pretty. It's a pretty donut. That's okay. It has an egg taste. I mean, obviously, looking at both of these recipes, do either of these look like a Krispy Kreme donut? No, they don't. But what they look like and what they taste like are different things. This is very delicate. It does have an eggy, I don't know if you can hear that. Some of that eggy sound, some of that eggy feel. But it's pretty good. Honestly, if anything, they could have used less glaze. But, all right, hold on. Whipping the egg whites, and there's only 2 eggs in there. Whipping the egg whites and some of the other things you needed to do was a lot of work. These were a little bit easier. So let's try one of these. I'm going to get a pretty one. Let's get one of these. And the glaze is still a little wet, just like the others. Again, these are going to harden up pretty quickly. That looks gray and weird, kind of like, you know, it almost looks like oatmeal, like this. Here's your wheat bran muffin, you know, it kind of looks like that, but it smells great. So, wow. Look at the crumb in there. Look at the crumb. The volume of that is so much bigger. I gotta tell you though, if you've eaten a Krispy Kreme donut, a fresh, hot Krispy Kreme donut, you don't even use your teeth. You push your tongue up against the roof of your mouth and that donut just disintegrates in your mouth like cotton candy, kind of, right? Do either of these taste like that? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Are they both good donuts? Pretty good. I noticed one of the comments on the brown butter cinnamon all day after food. One of them was like, "These are better than even a regular donut." No, they're not. But they're pretty darn good. The cinnamon and the brown butter in this is freaking delicious. And I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how. Both of these donuts have 2 eggs in them each. They both have 2 eggs. These were just beaten and mixed into the dough. These, you separated, the yolks were done, in the batter, the egg whites were folded in gently, and those taste like eggs to me, and these don't. And there's nothing. There's none of that weird eggy, you know, that is a crumbly. Now, I would call that a cake donut. I would call that a cake donut. But under the circumstances, that's pretty damn good. Y'all, when the glaze hardens, I honestly think there's too much swerve. There's too much swerve in the glaze. I would make those without the glaze, to be quite honest. Hold on. All right, so there you go. There you have it. Donuts. Are these Krispy Kreme donuts? They are not. Do not fool yourself. I could add yeast in there and do anything I wanted to do. But without the use of wheat and a frying pan, you're not going to create that stuff that's good. But doggone, those are pretty good. So if I had to give it, I would give the slight edge of the donut, the bready donut, to All Day I Dream About Food. I would give the glaze on Caroline's Keto Kitchen, I would give that the winner for the glaze. So truthfully, if I do these again, I'm making All Day I Dream About Foods things, and I'm using her glaze and dipping them, and then I think you're going to have something that's really pretty special. I mean, that's good. Those are good. I'm pretty pleased with both of those. All right, guys, so low-carb donuts, keto donuts, it can be done. They might not be your favorite consistency and recipe from your favorite, chain brand, but these are pretty doggone good. As I say every time, these videos are a way for me to maintain my low-carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera every week or 2 or a month or 2 keeps me honest. So I really appreciate that you have come along for the journey. If you want to check out my the description below, in the video description box below, you'll see links to all the products I've used today, from the Nordic Ware donut pans to the Pam olive oil avocado spray, to the Reynolds cookie baking sheets, parchment sheets, all that stuff is going to be down below. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon account. I'll leave a link up here for that. If you don't know what Patreon is, it's the tip jar for the internet. It allows people like you who enjoy what people like me are doing here on YouTube, and you can give us $1 or $2 a month just to sort of keep the train on the tracks, and you get a lot of extra benefits for doing that. Otherwise, yeah, I guess I'll see you guys in a week or two. I got a lot going on in the personal life and in the channel. Lots of changes coming soon. I can't really say much about it yet, but you will be learning about it shortly. So until then, until the next time, I love you guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.